Criminals have been trying to escape from prison since its inception. Jailbreaks fail most of the time, but not always. Jailbreaks don't just happen in movies, they happen in real life a lot more than you'd like to believe. Being arrested or going to jail can be one of the most terrifying experiences. If you ever find yourself stuck in a situation like this, don't do anything you see in today's video. Like, subscribe, and comment now for more super interesting prison break moments. It's human nature to seek freedom, and some clearly prefer fresh air. Fortunately for most of us, they fail, but the few who actually commit crimes are willing to risk everything for the cookie freedom. First up, we have two prisoners risking their way to the end of the prison page, and not only that, but to climb over the fences and escape. Something has to be done about this, as inmates shouldn't be able to just run away by jumping over some fences. Tonight we learn more about the escape and capture of two Union Territory prisoners. Sheriff had been quoted to be saying the facility needs changes. 7 News Channel has a new video clip from the prison cameras which shows the escape, which happened an hour after a man was heard helping to get inmates back behind bars. 7 News had obtained this surveillance footage from the jail 19 hours before the escape happened, a Friday afternoon. You can see Tyler on the right side of the screen in the recreation area cutting the chain link fence as he and Lipsy squeezed through the opening to climb over the fence and through the deck. Then he threw a towel over the razor wire before running over the roof to temporary freedom. This prisoner thinks that it was worth it that he was able to escape from prison, but it wouldn't be that worthwhile because this wouldn't be tolerated and they would be given much longer sentences than they were in the beginning. Sometimes you can get around it without any proper planning or thinking in advance. If you see a gap, you just take it without thinking it through, and that's exactly what two prisoners on guard outside the high prison fence did. They just shared a glance quickly at each other. With that small glance, they broke out of the prison on foot as fast as they could. The warden kept staring at them in disbelief, and then radioed in the news of the escape. The duo separated in different directions from when the path was cleared after the bolt, but they were arrested at a nearby apartment complex a few days later. How these men stayed under the radar and convinced the guards to let them be at that place without any restraints remains a mystery. The cops have caught a man who has been seen to be breaking out of jail. Local inmate gets out of jail and local reporter Keith Jones talks through every moment leading to the inmate running the streets. According to this, the inmate jumped out through the space of the air conditioner in the window after kicking down the whole air conditioner. This was part 1 of the escape plan. Then he ran and ended up in this parking lot about a block away where the police say he went into a space and started stripping himself of his clothes, right down to his underwear, socks, and shoes. Lieutenant remembers this man's unique arrest. David McFadden smiles thankfully in disguise after police recapture him in Fayette County Jail. He apparently had managed to somehow escape the cell he was in and managed to get into the counselor's office where the air conditioner was kicked out to pave the way for the escape. The officers are still trying to piece together as to how exactly he did that. After getting down, he went on foot to the parking lot where the police say the 21-year-old took off his prison uniform and then just left in front of many people in Union City. Lieutenant says the prisoner had to be maced before he himself made the arrest. Turns out the police had picked him up just the night before for drugs and theft. The cops are adding a few more to the lists while the jail is investigating how this could have happened. This is 120 years in prison, and it has done a good job all this while. McFadden is now also accused of escaping from prison and fleeing from the police. Next, we have a 33-year-old Nicholas Garrison brought in on criminal charges. This is a video of Garrison running out of the county courthouse during his proceedings. The deputy sprints to catch him with dogs on his heels, and is seen as having hurled himself over the railing in an attempt to stop the escaping inmate in the hallway's camera. Deputy Reno has since been released from the hospital and is resting at home. Sheriff Danny Briere says they now have word that Garrison is said to have shaved his hair bald and probably changed clothes too. Before his escape, Garrison is seen wearing black jeans, blue shirt, and Nike tennis shoes. He is 6 feet 180 pounds with hazel eyes and several tattoos. Sheriff says Garrison lived with the woman seen in the courtroom video, but right now she is currently in jail as well. There's been no whereabouts of Garrison. Some criminals move heaven and earth to remove the walls of the prison, others only move part of the wall. Well, I'm sure everyone tries to be Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption. These two made through with a pair of cinder blocks and pressed through the gaps, then threw a blanket 25 meters high onto an electric fence and ended up escaping into the forest. The holes in the wall were covered with posters, and even dolls were made out of pillows and blankets on their beds to buy them precious time. Even though after all this hard work, the locals ended up catching them after seeing tracks in the mud in a nearby stream and ended up alerting the authorities. This next escape happens with the prisoner having just one idea in his mind: think fast, act fast, and if at first it doesn't work, try and try again. After a few failed attempts during the day, this trapped bird decided to bide its time and wait for the right moment. The police are seen getting out of the patrol car to make the transfer of the prisoner, and this man saw an opening. When the garage door was closing, he ran out of the small opening with the best speed you've probably ever seen in your life. When the roller door closed behind, it took the cops a lot precious minutes to get out, and by then he was long gone. He had covered so much ground that even after 2 hours of searching for a hound dog, he was not found. But he was arrested the very next day. It does seem like he didn't get that far ahead with the speed he had. Unless you're a hard-time criminal, you have to play to your strengths. Being a silver-tongued Casanova has its perks, especially when the guard watching you happens to have the keys to the only barrier between you and freedom. In this situation, the convicts walked out of the prison without a care in the world. The camera located in the alley outside captured the men dressed in white casually walking away. There aren't many scenarios in which prison guards and escaped convicts can live happily ever after. You see her running her hands through her hair, totally stressed out and rethinking her life choices. The very next day, she is arrested for helping the runner, and 3 men were arrested 5 days later after a violent scene with the police. Even stupid criminals get lucky in the end. After being arrested at a motel for theft, this woman found her way to a police jail. She was left alone with her phone to try to make bail and manage a way to her home. She struggles to anchor free of cuffs, holding her to the wall. She is then using her phone and in between checking text messages. Even though the police said the cuffs were in the hardest settings, she used her dainty hands to free herself, took the keys from the hook on the wall, and used them to open the emergency exits, quietly walking out of the building's back door when no one was looking. An hour later, she was caught returning to the same hotel where she was arrested that morning. The staff there immediately recognized her and called the authorities, leading to her arrest. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to keep yourself on lookout for criminals trying and usually failing at Prison Break.